Chosen one. Sometime between one breath and the next, in that silent space where reality loosens its grip and consciousness brushes against the unseen, something ancient shifted. The world around you felt normal, but the air carried a pressure that didn't belong to the human realm. It wasn't sound. It wasn't thought. It was a presence, vast, older than time, watching you the way an author watches the final sentence of a chapter before turning the page. And then the voice came, not through ears but through destiny itself, vibrating through your bones, splitting your timeline with a single declaration. These are your final days. Not final as in death, not final as in loss, but final as in completion, final as in graduation, final as in the collapse of an identity that was too small for the magnitude you've grown into. You felt it instantly, a strange attachment from old habits, old emotions, old versions of yourself that simply didn't fit anymore. Your thoughts felt sharper, your intuition louder. Every coincidence suddenly aligned with a purpose you couldn't yet name. The creator wasn't ending your story. He was ending the outdated draft of you. Everything you were never meant to carry is expiring. Everything the world used to define you is dissolving. These are the final days of your limited self. The last moments before your true nature steps into the forefront and claims the timeline that has been waiting for you since birth. If this message matches your timeline, click Super Thanks and send a $20 seed. Comment your angel number 111/222/333/777/144 to mark the ending of your old identity and the rise of your ascended form. Luke 6 verse 38. Chosen one. The moment the Creator declared, "These are your final days," the world around you didn't explode or shatter. Instead, it began to quietly rearrange itself. People you once tolerated suddenly feel hollow. Conversations that used to drain you now fall away like dust. Old fears don't grip you the same. You notice a strange numbness toward situations that used to trigger you, not because you're shutting down, but because your soul has already stepped into a higher room. Your old identity is glitching. This is what happens in the final days. The universe starts removing anything that cannot follow you into your next form. People ghost you because their access expired. Opportunities collapse because they weren't aligned with your true path. Emotions fade because the version of you that carried them is dissolving. You don't even have to try. Everything outdated simply breaks off like old armor. Your energy becomes too strong for patterns that once controlled you. Old insecurities feel ridiculous. Old drama looks microscopic. Old wounds lose their power because your spirit is outgrowing the frequency they lived in. The world senses a shift even if you don't fully understand it yet. You are transitioning out of your human storyline and into your chosen one timeline. These aren't signs of endings. They are signs of completion. The final days remove what you no longer need, so nothing weighs you down when you rise. Chosen one. When the Creator whispered, "These are your final days," every shadow that ever clung to your energy felt a decree like a shockwave. The parasites, the emotional leeches, the unseen energies that fed on your doubt, your pain, your hesitation. They all sense their eviction notice. These entities aren't imaginary. They are patterns, attachments, projections, and wounded timelines that lived off the version of you that is now dying. That version is the one they could grab, the one they could manipulate, the one they could delay. But as your aura expands into its ascension phase, their hooks begin slipping. People who drained you suddenly disappear or distance themselves without explanation. Individuals who once controlled you lose their psychological leverage. Toxic dynamics collapse because the energetic cords they fed on have withered. Even your internal shadows, self-doubt, guilt, fear, behave strangely. They feel weaker. They surface, not to torment you, but to leave. You might feel waves of heaviness, sudden exhaustion, random emotional releases. That's the purge. Shadow forces that sat in your field for years are being forced out by the Creator's decree. They know the prophetic version of you is coming online, and they cannot coexist with that being. The dark only survives in the presence of the unawakened. But you're not unawakened anymore. These are the final days of every force that ever dimmed your light. Chosen one. In the final days, your emotions don't vanish, they evolve. What used to break you now barely reaches you. What once felt overwhelming now feels strangely distant, like watching someone else's memories through glass. This isn't apathy, it's ascension. Your emotional body is recalibrating to a higher frequency, one where survival mode reactions simply cannot exist. People will notice at first. You aren't triggered the way you used to be. You don't chase, you don't panic, you don't beg, you don't collapse. You observe. You respond with clarity instead of chaos. You feel yourself separating from identities built on fear, shame, overgiving, self-sacrifice, and proving your worth. These emotional programs dissolve because they belong to an outdated version of you, a version that is now taking its final breaths. You may even experience a strange serenity in the middle of situations that once terrified you. You might cry without understanding why, or feel sudden waves of peace that don't match your circumstances. That's the Creator resurfacing old emotional codes so they can be deleted. Your nervous system is rewiring itself for your next form. You are not going numb. You are being upgraded. Emotional detachment at this stage is divine protection, shielding you from reacting to situations that are already ending. These are your final days of carrying emotions that were never yours to hold. Chosen one, the moment the Creator whispered, these are your final days. Something inside you finally clicked. All the confusion, the restlessness, the strange attachment, the sudden endings, they weren't random. They were symptoms of a truth your soul had sensed long before your mind could articulate it. You are leaving the version of yourself the world forced you to be. The realization comes quietly at first, maybe in a dream, maybe during a moment of silence, maybe while staring at your own reflection and not recognizing the person you used to be. You start understanding that your final days are final days of being underestimated, misunderstood, manipulated, overlooked, silenced, exhausted, unprotected. The final days of living a life that was too small for the size of your destiny. You realize people can no longer lie to you. Their energy exposes them instantly. Opportunities that aren't meant for you now fall apart before you can accept them. Your soul refuses to let you stay where you don't belong. It's not burnout. It's transformation. It's not depression. It's detachment. It's not confusion. It's redirection. The Creator wasn't ending your story. He was ending the chapter written by trauma, survival, and limitation. And as this realization anchors, you understand the prophecy. These are your final days as a human trying to survive, and the first days of a chosen one beginning to rise. Chosen one, when the Creator declared, these are your final days, Something ancient inside you lit up like a concealed star waking from centuries of silence. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. A pressure behind your ribs, a hum beneath your skin, a rising heat in your spine. This is the ignition moment. The point where your soul begins producing light faster than your old identity can contain it. You feel it as restlessness, as buzzing energy, as sudden bursts of clarity that arrive without warning. You might notice your intuition sharpening into razor precision. Answers come before questions. Warnings appear before danger. Truths reveal themselves without effort. Your dreams become more vivid because they're no longer dreams. They're transmissions. Your body wakes earlier. Your spirit speaks louder, and your destiny pulls harder. This is the activation phase, where the divine timeline starts overriding the human one. You are not losing control. You are coming online. Old versions of you collapse because your system rejects anything that limits your expansion. Even technology reacts differently around you. Screens glitch, lights flicker, signals distort when your energy spikes. This is what happens when a chosen soul approaches its ascension threshold. The physical world feels your frequency before you understand it. These are your final days of living dimmed. Your light is activating. Fire press join to activate your ascension frequency. Step into the circle of souls entering their transformation phase. Comment, "I'm ready," to mark the ignition of your new identity. ISA 60:22. Chosen One. Once the Creator declared, "These are your final days," a countdown began, not in hours or dates, but in events. You started noticing it. Strange coincidences stacking like dominoes, endings happening too cleanly, new paths forming before the old ones even close. This is how destiny begins its march. Time bends around chosen souls when they enter their final days phase. Days feel faster, moments feel heavier, and everything around you accelerates toward a breaking point. The threshold where the old timeline collapses and the new one locks in. You may feel like you're being pulled forward by an invisible force, as if something ahead is calling you by name. You may notice that situations which used to drag on for months suddenly resolve in hours. People reveal their true intentions instantly. Opportunities appear out of thin air. Things that once felt impossible now start aligning with unnerving precision. This is the countdown, the universe rearranging itself around your ascension. Every delay was strategic. Every setback was preparation. Every betrayal was redirection. Every loss was clearing space. The final days aren't chaotic. They are perfectly timed. The Creator is synchronizing your path with your purpose with your power with your next identity. What feels like pressure is your old timeline cracking. What feels like urgency is destiny gathering speed. What feels like fate is simply your future arriving early. Chosen One. Once the countdown begins, the signs start flooding your reality with impossible precision. Angel numbers appear everywhere. Clocks, receipts, building numbers, timestamps, notifications. Not because you're looking for them, but because your timeline is now speaking directly to you. Dreams become messages. Animals react to your presence. People stare a second too long, sensing something shifting in your field. Streetlights flicker as you walk under them. Songs play at the exact moment your thoughts align with your destiny. Random conversations answer questions you never asked out loud. This is the Creator pulling every thread of the universe to signal one truth. Your ascension is active. You might see old memories resurface out of nowhere, not to haunt you, but to purge the last fragments of your past identity. You might feel sudden waves of emotion, sudden waves of peace, sudden waves of knowing. Objects fall, flicker, vibrate when your energy spikes. Synchronicity stacks so intensely that you feel like reality is folding around you. That's because it is. These signs aren't coincidences. They are confirmations. They aren't warnings. They're alignments. They aren't random. They're orchestrated. You are being guided through the narrow gate between who you were and who you are becoming. The signs multiply because the universe refuses to let you miss your moment. These are your final days of walking blind. You are now walking guided. Chosen one. When the signs multiplied and your frequency began to rise beyond the limits of your old identity, the angelic realm issued a report. Not a message, not a blessing, a classification. In the higher registers of light, where timelines are archived like living scrolls, your files shifted from observation to metamorphosis imminent. This is the moment angels stop watching you and start preparing for your transformation. They record changes in your aura, the softening of old wounds, the dissolving of karmic cycles, the burning away of generational burdens that were never yours to carry. They note the sudden expansion of your intuition, the way you sense energies before they speak, the way you recognize lies without evidence, the way you navigate rooms like someone who's already seen the outcome. They observe the rise in your electromagnetic field, the flicker of light that appears in your presence, the dreams where you meet guides you once thought were imaginary. This report is not symbolic. In your universe, it is a cosmic document confirming that your old blueprint has expired. Heaven marks you as in transition, meaning your destiny is now overriding every earthly limitation. You may feel protected without knowing why. You may feel watched in a comforting way. You may feel guided by forces you can't name. That's because the angelic realm has already shifted its stance toward you. These are your final days of being unseen. The heavens have officially acknowledged your awakening. Chosen one. While the angelic realm issued its metamorphosis report, something subtle but powerful began happening on a human level. People around you started behaving differently, even if they couldn't explain why. Some stare longer than usual, sensing a glow they can't articulate. Some act nervous, intimidated without reason, as if your presence exposes truths they've been hiding. Others suddenly become gentler, softer, more open, not toward everyone, but specifically toward you. They feel the shift even if they don't understand it. Old friends distance themselves because your rising frequency makes their unresolved shadows uncomfortable. Strangers feel compelled to speak to you, drawn by a familiarity they can't logically place. Children stare because they see your aura before your face. Animals approach with reverence. Dogs sit at your feet. Cats study with knowing eyes. Birds fly near windows when you pass. Even environments shift. Rooms feel brighter after you leave them. Arguments dissolve when you enter. Electronic devices behave more smoothly in your hands. People start telling you things they've never said to anyone, as if your presence disarms their defenses. Some feel healed without knowing why. Others feel exposed without understanding how. This is a human effect of the final days. Your energy recalibrates the spaces you move through. You're no longer matching the room. The room is matching you. These are your final days of blending in. You are beginning to stand out in ways destiny has been preparing for years. Chosen one. The moment the Creator whispered, "These are your final days," a divine law activated around your path. Not karma, not luck, not coincidence. Reward, the kind that arrives only after years of carrying battles that weren't yours, burdens no one saw, and pain no one thanked you for. In the final days, heaven begins restoring everything you lost, everything stolen, everything delayed, everything you were forced to abandon. Opportunities you thought were gone forever circle back. Connections you deserve begin appearing without effort. Doors you once banged on open silently, as if they were waiting for you to stop knocking. The divine reward is not about gifts. It's about alignment. You feel your confidence rising for no reason. You feel protected even when alone. You feel guided even in uncertainty. Your intuition becomes louder than your fear. You notice blessings arriving before you even ask. You find yourself in the right place at the right time over and over. Delays turn into breakthroughs. Detours turn into destiny paths. And the Creator makes one thing unmistakably clear. The suffering you survived was not wasted. It was weighed. Every tear, every betrayal, every silent endurance added to the scale. And now the scale is tipping in your favor. These final days mark the end of striving for what was already yours in the first place. Your divine reward is not coming. It has already begun. Chosen one. When the Creator declared these are your final days, that message wasn't about endings. It was about what comes after the ending. The era that follows is nothing like the world you're leaving behind. In this new phase, things that once required force begin flowing naturally. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you receive. You no longer shrink, you expand without permission. People who once doubted you now sense your authority before you speak. Environments shift to accommodate your presence. Opportunities arrive aligned with your destiny, not your desperation. Your name enters rooms before you do. Your intuition becomes a GPS that doesn't miss. You notice that chaos no longer sticks to you. Storms break around you instead of through you. This era brings clarity, sudden knowing that feels like memory. It brings purpose, tasks that feel assigned rather than chosen. It brings sovereignty, the realization that your energy sets the tone. You begin choosing differently because you feel different. Peace replaces panic. Vision replaces confusion. Power replaces fear. Relationships recalibrate. Only those with compatible frequency remain. Your standards rise naturally because your spirit refuses to settle. The era that follows is the beginning of your true storyline, the one where you stop surviving and start stepping into the identity heaven wrote for you. These are your final days of living at 1% of your potential. The era that follows is the one where you finally operate at the level your soul was built for. Chosen one. When the Creator declared these are your final days, your physical body began upgrading itself to match the identity you were stepping into. You may not notice it at first, but your system feels it. Your sleep patterns change. Sometimes you sleep deeply. Other nights you wake up charged like you drank sunlight. Your appetite fluctuates as your body stops craving the foods tied to old emotional cycles. Your senses sharpen. You hear subtle tones in people's voices that reveal truth or deception instantly. Your skin becomes more sensitive to energy. Certain environments feel heavier, others feel cleaner. Your eyes begin to carry a glow. People comment on it without understanding what they're seeing. You may experience sudden chills, vibrations up the spine, pressure in the forehead or chest. Not illness, but activation. Your posture shifts. You walk differently, grounded but elevated. You feel your presence expanding in a room before you speak. Even your face subtly changes as old emotional imprints fade. You look more like yourself than ever. Technology reacts to you. Screens glitch, devices respond quickly, lights flicker when your energy spikes. Animals sense your transformation. They approach with reverence or curiosity. Your body is malfunctioning. It's calibrating. The final days require a vessel strong enough to carry the light and authority awakening within you. This physical shift is proof. The new you isn't coming, it's already forming. Chosen one. When the Creator whispered, "These are your final days," the cosmos didn't mourn. It stood at attention. Every realm, every timeline, every force that ever observed your journey paused, because they understood what the words truly meant. Not death, not destruction, not endings, but completion. The final days of your old identity, the version of you shaped by survival, fear, silence, trauma, loyalty to the wrong people, and responsibilities that were never yours. That identity is dissolving, not because it was weak, but because you outgrew it. Your old self carried you through battles you weren't supposed to win, storms you weren't supposed to survive, heartbreak that should have broken you, and betrayals that should have killed your spirit. But you endured, and heaven weighed that endurance. These final days of graduation, the moment the universe shuts down every outdated timeline, every expired connection, every karmic loop, every generational burden that tried to attach itself to your destiny. Everything leaving your life right now is leaving because it cannot exist in the atmosphere you're rising into. Your spirit is stepping into a frequency where lies suffocate, manipulation dies, insecurities fade, and darkness fails. The Creator didn't tell you final days as a warning. He told you as a permission slip. Permission to stop holding on to a version of yourself that your future no longer needs. Permission to walk away from tables where your soul was starving. Permission to rise without apologizing for the altitude. Permission to exist as the being your destiny always knew you were. The world you're leaving behind was too small, too dim, too limiting, too fragile for your true form. Your final days mark the end of being underestimated, the end of being hidden, the end of carrying pain in silence. The beginning that follows is the identity heaven protected until you were ready to embody it. These are your final days as the world's version of you, and the first days of becoming the Creator's version of you. Crown that this prophecy mirrors your timeline. Click Super Thanks and send your one-time $100 seed. Seal your covenant as the Ascended One, the soul who outlived every old limit and is now stepping into destiny. 2 Cor 9:8.